Hi, my name is Hannah Kingsley, and I am one of the admissions counselors here at Champlain. First of all, I want to welcome you all to our first live stream of the semester. We have a little bit of feedback here. First of all, I want to welcome you all to our first live stream of the semester. Just know that this and all previous live streams can be found on YouTube and on the admitted students page and part of the Champlain website. Feel free to ask any questions throughout the live stream, and we'll do best to answer all of them from the chat section. But I'm now going to turn it over to our student host, Anthony.
Hello, everyone. First and foremost, congratulations on being accepted to Champlain College. I'm Anthony Mahan, a senior creative media major with a primary specialization in sonic arts and complementary specializations in creative writing and moving image. Long title, I know. This time last year, I was a panelist on the Champlain live stream, so it's a pleasure to be part of this again as a host. I'm here to represent the Champlain College's admissions office as a senior intern for the very first Champlain live stream of 2019. This evening, we will focus on first-generation students and the Office of Diversity and Inclusion. All of our panelists are from a variety of different majors within the communication and creative media, as well as information technologies and sciences and Robert P. Siller School of Business. They'll be telling you a little bit about some of the work that they've done inside and outside of the classroom. We also have returning panelists, myself included, as well as a former member of the ODI staff to talk a bit more about what it means to be a first-generation student and a little bit more about what the Office of Diversity and Inclusion is. Without much further ado, let's all introduce ourselves. So can we get, just name, current year or graduating year for those it applies to, major, and some different either student leadership or staff positions that each of you have had on campus?
Do I go? Okay, so my name is Hannah Short. I'm a second-year communications major with a specialization in communication studies and a minor in social justice. I am a federal work study in the Office of Diversity and Inclusion. I also am the vice president of Shades of Me, and I'm a member of the Women in Film Club.
Hi, everyone. My name is Stephanie Duan. I am Champlain College's Student Resources and Single Parent Program Coordinator. I am a recent graduate, class of 2018. And when I was here, I was a psychology major with a minor in business administration. So currently I'm a Student Resources Coordinator, but I also worked in our Office of Diversity and Inclusion.
Hello, my name is Isaiah Simmons. I'm a second-year accounting major with a minor in finance here at Champlain, and I also hold a position as an accounting tutor at Champlain SmartSpace.
Hi, I'm Corey Smith. I'm a fourth-year game programming student who's going to be graduating this year. And yeah.
Hi, my name is Chelsea Henry. I am a marketing major. I'm a junior this year, and I'm from Boston, Mass. Some things that I'm part of on campus. So I'm the current SGA ITS representative. So I'm part of the student government, and I'm also a student ambassador here on campus. So I give tours to prospective students and families. And I'm also part of Shades of Me, which is the Women of Color affinity group on campus. And I can't remember the other things. I do a lot, but yeah.
Hey, awesome. Well, first and foremost, thank you to all of you for joining me on this live stream. We'll start with asking Steph a question. So, Steph, the Office of Diversity and Inclusion has been around on Champlain campus for students since 2007. What are some things the staff in the ODI does on a daily basis to cultivate a safe space for students? If you could talk about some events or, some things that you've done within the Office of Diversity and Inclusion.
Yeah, I'd love to talk about it. So there are a lot of different ways that we try to foster support for our students. One of it is just having physical space. So our students often come in to do homework, or they hang out, play games. Sometimes there's music and you see people dancing around. So the physical space is a really important component of it all. But in terms of the work that we do a lot of community building and educational programming. I've led workshops on identity, on how to navigate being a college student, right? I was a first-gen student, and so a lot of the questions I had about going to college, my parents couldn't answer for me. So that's what a lot of our programming is there to do, is to help you navigate what it's like to be a college student, especially if there aren't a lot of examples for you to follow. We also just do a lot of spaces for having conversations when students need it, whether it's something that they saw in the news that really triggered them, or if they want to have a conversation about exploration of identity. We do a lot of that, both in group settings and one-on-one. So most of the time, if you're looking for someone to talk to, there's usually someone around to support you. And if not, we know plenty of folks who are happy to spend time with you and create the space that you need in order to feel safe to do a lot of these very intimate and confusing things.
Well, thank you, Seth, for your insight. Now I'm going to transition the question to current students. So, would you guys be able to tell everyone a little bit about the ODI from a student perspective? Talk about maybe when and how you guys heard about the ODI, how each of you got involved within the space, and how long it took for each of you to start making friends within the ODI. Hannah, could we start with you?
Yeah, so I started going to the ODI actually on my first day of classes. So I was an AHEAD student, which is a pre-orientation program. And my AHEAD student leader, his name was Kevin. And on the first day of classes, my first year, he saw me headed towards the caf and was like, hey, do you want to come? And so I decided to go in. And then from that point on, I started going there frequently. It became my hangout space, wherever I would go to take naps, do homework, relax, and just kind of debrief after classes. And then by September of my first year, I applied for a position in ODI, and then I became a work study. And so I've been working there ever since. Yeah.
So I also frequent the ODI a lot. And when I was originally introduced to it, I was a bit of, I'll say, a loner. I didn't have that many friends outside of someone I came to high school with and their friends. And a couple of friends I have now saw me eating in the dining hall alone, and they offered to take me there. And it was just a really nice experience. And because it felt like somewhere I could be myself and just be at home, away from home, I decided I'd keep coming back there and just keep going somewhere where I could really be me. And I found so many networks and new friends, and it's just been a great experience.
Yeah, for me, I actually didn't know the ODI was a thing until when I first came to Champlain. They had like a brunch for a bunch of students of color to come and meet each other. And so I made some friends there, but they were all in the care program that they have at ODI, which is another program that they host. So I didn't know that the ODI actually existed until some of them said, "Hey, let's go hang out in the ODI." And I said, "What's that?" So they brought me over there, and it was just really nice to know that like there was actually a space where there were like other students of color to hang out with and just chill. And yeah, so it didn't take long for me to really like make friends there. Like people are always friendly, and like everyone is just really quick to say, "Hey, we're friends now." So yeah.
For me, I don't think I really started hanging out in the ODI until my second year here. And I think my first year I was a little kind of reserved and kept to myself a lot. But it wasn't until my friend Alicia was like, hey, you should come hang out at the ODI more. There's a lot of resources that's provided for you. And so I took it upon myself to spend more time there and get to know the other students that come. And I'm glad I did that because I made some really good friends. But yeah.
Alrighty, another question for all of you. How would you say the Office of Diversity and Inclusion has been pivotal to your success as a student? Maybe talk about some challenges that you've each faced as students that the ODI has helped you overcome. Hannah, could we start with you again?
Yeah, so I guess the ODI definitely helped me a lot in terms of just opening me up to being open to meeting new people and things like that. But also, the education empowerment is something that ODI offers. So nearly every day during the week, a faculty or staff member basically has office hours in ODI. So if you would need help writing a paper, there'd be someone who could help you. And that definitely helped me my first year a lot when we had to make like the self-portrait and write the essay about it. And then second semester when we had to make a 10-page paper, I was really struggling with my writing, but there was access to professors who could look over my writing and just give me general guidance. And I guess a main challenge that I've really faced would just be struggling with, like, because it is a predominantly white campus, like that can be kind of hard sometimes. So just going to ODI is always a good space when you need to like debrief after a really hard class, or you just need some positivity, or if it's Monday and you're having a bad morning, there's Muffin Monday. So free muffins every Monday, and that is another way to keep you motivated. Yeah.
So just some things I've had to face at the ODI has helped me with. I haven't always had the easiest time with certain classes, and there are people in my division that also frequent the ODI, and just knowing that there are people there who, from a student standpoint, understand where I'm coming from and understand where I've been through, what I'm going through, excuse me. They just can help me out and give me tips and pointers, which is really helpful. Just also what Hannah talked about with the education empowerment, that's another thing that's really been nice, just having professors there that can help you one-on-one. And also just it really got me to open up, because I wasn't the type to ask for help. I was the type to just kind of keep it in if I had a problem and just try and figure it out on my own. But ODI helped connect me to resources, not only academically, but just for my own uh, self-care, which helped me a lot academically and just as a person.
Yeah, for me, actually having the ODI is good for since I'm a game major, things can get a little stressful for us, which I'll probably get into a bit later. But it's always nice to just come to the ODI and just like, if I need to like take a nap after like a really like long morning class, I can do that. Or if I'm like just like really like stressed out after working in the labs for like a few hours, just come and like hang out. And there's always people to just talk to and have fun with. So it's great just having a spot like that where there's like just people like you who like you can just hang out with almost all the time.
I think for me, it's really a place where I can just be myself in a way. It can be draining, um, like during the day when we go like class, when you have class back to back, and just like tired. So like going to the ODI and just to like vent and just be yourself is, I think, one of the most important things for me. So it's a place where I can go to and maybe take a nap in between classes. So I have a lot of um, resources available to me that I can use. So that's really helped me out with my journey as a student.
Awesome. So Hannah, we're actually going to go back to you for a little bit. You started out at Champlain as a filmmaking major. Can you talk about some projects you've worked on within the program? Maybe some topics that you've covered, classroom experiences, and maybe some professors that helped you along the way.
Yeah, so I did start off as a filmmaking major. I'm still taking filmmaking classes. So right now I'm in the process of making my first short film. It's all like completely directed by me. The script was written by me, and then like casting and crew. Chelsea's actually going to be one of the actors in it. So that's all like in the works. So I should be finished with it by the end of April. And then along from filmmaking classes in general, some of the great classroom experiences were from my filmmaking professors. So like I had Julia Swift, who is this amazing professor who really helped with like just getting used to like screenwriting and things like that. So she definitely helped me become like a better writer in terms of like how I write scripts. Yeah.
Sweet. And you are a member of the Women in Film group at Champlain, correct? Hey, would you be able to talk a little bit more about what that is and what you do within the group?
So the Women in Film Club is started this year, but we got the idea last year. My best friend Liani Caraballo actually is the one who's the president. She started it, and it's definitely been helpful because it provides opportunity to people who are like women that need help with their projects and film classes and stuff. Because the film making program is really like, it's basically predominantly male, so it's kind of like a close-knit community that you can make of people who are in the filmmaking program, that if you would need help for making your films or writing scripts, they'd be able to help you, and just also be able to like explore and learn more about filmmaking on our own. So we'll also be able to like work with equipment and stuff.
Cool. And recently you switched your major to communications, right? Can you talk about what that process was like, and why you decided to switch majors, and if your goals shifted along the way, and if so, what those goals were?
So when I first came to Champlain, I wanted to be a filmmaking major because my goal ultimately was to be a director in film. I wanted to be an indie director and just make like a bunch of movies. But then as I got here and after I experienced some of the things that I did and I met some of the people that I did, my entire dream changed. So now I more want to work with people, so like young students of color or women and children. And me starting this semester with having a minor in social justice was kind of like me taking the first steps towards things that I'm interested in, because I really do like activism and I like helping people. So communications was where I felt I would be able to get the skills necessary to better my learning, but also better the way that I like handle situations and help other people navigate situations. So the process has been fairly easy. It's just a matter of like the admin kind of like looking through my courses and lining them up and stuff. And so it won't be too hard and I won't be behind or anything like that. But it's been a great experience in the filmmaking program, but I'm definitely ready to like learn more about being able to communicate with people and just helping other people.
All right, thank you, Hannah. Chelsea, we're going to go to you next. You were a panelist on last year's live stream about first generation students, where you talked about your coursework in data analytics, as you were a data analytics major at the time. Could you talk about what it was like to be part of the Women in ITS Club in a male dominated major? And is there anything that you've noticed, realized, or experienced in the years since, maybe even talk about the process of you changing your major?
Yeah, so I was a data analytics major before. Now it's actually my minor, so I switched to marketing. But so I think I'm still part of the Women ITS Club. I still go there because I still face kind of like the same things that I do even as a marketing major now. So I find it's a great place to just be and kind of share my experiences as a woman. But I think there's not really been a lot of changes really in terms of how the classrooms are taught, or how I feel as a woman really in a male dominated field. But in general, I think Champlain, especially my professors, I do have a great mentor. Her name is Noreen Hall, and she used to teach my programming classes, most of my programming classes. So she's been my mentor. So she's helped me a lot along the way, and it can be hard to kind of navigate being in a classroom with 90% male students. So she's helped me a lot along the way in terms of how to kind of have my voice be heard a lot more, where I don't have to really try to be noticed in the classroom. So she's helped me a lot. And but yeah, so I'm a marketing major now, but it's still like kind of challenging. But I think I've done. a lot better in terms of navigating through those kind of situations. So.
Okay. And when you were on last year's Champlain live stream, you were concluding the first half of your time as a Champlain student. Now that you're almost 75% of the way towards graduating, which I know is scary to think about, is there anything that you've noticed, realized, or have been particularly proud of as a first generation student?
Yeah, I think I'm really proud of making it through my third year, or almost making through my third year. But I'm really proud of myself. I honestly didn't think I would make it this far. I know it's like sad to say, but so I have about 1 year left. So I'm really excited to finish off and finish strong. But I think I've grown a lot as a person and as a student and as a professional. I've had several internships where I feel like I've grown, and I wouldn't say I'm ready to be just put out there in the professional world, the real world, but I think I've definitely progressed since my first year. So I'm really proud of that, and but yeah, I'm excited to see what's in store for me. But yeah.
All right, thank you. And Hannah and Chelsea, both of you are members of the Shades of Me Women of Color affinity group on campus. Could you both talk a little bit more about what Shades of Me is, how both of you got involved, and what you do within the group?
Yeah, so Shades of Me is, as you already know, the Women of Color Affinity group on campus. It's basically a safe space for women of color. We meet in the Women's and Gender Center every Thursday, and we just kind of relax, sometimes talk about certain issues. It's more of like a decompressing kind of space. We put on a few programs. So at the beginning of the year, we'll do Get to Know Shades of Me. We did a Trap and Sip, where we just listened to music and painted. And then this semester, we're planning to go see the movie Little, and just kind of we want to get more involved with the community and just help out. It's more of like um, having like a sisterhood of people to look out with. So it's for all female identifying students. And it really is a great space to hang out. And I got involved in my first year, first semester. I could barely go because like I had a class, and so sometimes it would work, sometimes it wouldn't. But then I just started going frequently, and then by the end of my first year, Abby asked me if I wanted to be the vice president this year, and I said yes, and I was honored to do it. And so now I'm the vice president, so I get to see kind of what goes on in the terms of planning the meetings and things like that. So it's really fun.
Yeah, I think I really started going frequently this year. Last year didn't work out for me because of the time I had a class during then. But so yeah, so honestly, it's a space for us to just really talk about anything. And I'm talking about from like what we did during the day, or like boy problems, or like relationship problems. So it's honestly a nice place to be. And we have a great group of people, and we just like listen to each other, whatever it is that we might be talking about that day. Sometimes we focus on certain issues that's going on around the world that's focused on women of color, especially. But yeah, it's like a space to just like be, and just not have to worry about everything else that's going on in the world, which is, I really appreciate, because you don't get a lot of those spaces in the world. So yeah.
All right, thank you both for your insight. Isaiah, we're going to move to you a little bit. Can you talk a little bit about the Stiller School of Business? What is some work that you've done within the accounting major? And have you collaborated on projects with other business students? And if you have, could you elaborate on what those projects were?
Sure. So I guess I'll get started by talking a bit about my major. I actually what was debating at one point in my Champlain career whether or not to stay as an accounting major, because I did like the math. It was just a couple courses that I found a little disinteresting, but as I kept through it, I found that it really is good for those who are interested in accounting and those who want to keep pursuing their interest in the industry. And I also find that there are a lot of opportunities for growth, not only from your professor, but your faculty advisor that are offered by them. And There are some projects where I've worked with other Stiller School of Business students. One example would be in Biz 110, it's a first year course where you're in a group of students and you work on a project, and it's called Biz Cafe. And we no longer do this. We've actually switched to something called Business Model Canvas, but I'll get into that in a bit. You work in a group of 3 or 4 students and you're designing a coffee shop, and it's meant to be a simulator where it's like, oh, you need to figure out how to buy inventory, how to market your business. Are you going to do radio advertisements? Are you going to do just general awareness? How many hours are you going to be open? Just trying to simulate the day-to-day of an actual business. And that was for all business students, no matter what your major was, so long as you were in that division. And it was a good teamwork and leadership building exercise that was lasted the whole fall semester. And I'm taking a course right now, marketing, and it's a bit of an extension of that, and it's very interesting. We're looking a lot more in depth into the marketing aspect, of course, and I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying my time with the major, and I'd say that even as an accounting major, there are 1 or 2 accounting courses I have taken that I may have not enjoyed to the fullest, or that not everyone will enjoy. But if you truly think that accounting is the major for you, I definitely say continue and go on.
Thank you. And can you also talk about your work within the accounting and finance lab as well as the smart space?
Sure. So the Smart Space is a place on Champlain's campus where you can go and you can get help for certain assignments. So I work in the accounting and finance lab, but there's also the writing lab, the math lab, the statistics lab, and just there's a meditation space. There's certain events we have for therapy and self-care. Like on Thursdays, we have therapy dogs come in from a certain time, and it's just a good place to go and relax. Even if you don't want one-on-one help with your homework, is just a good place to go because everyone's focused and not fooling around. And you can just do your homework there. And at least in the accounting and finance lab, we have answers for most of the homework problems you will be getting in your courses. So it's just a good way to check your answers really quickly and then submit your homework, and just to really be on top of things.
Isaiah, thank you so much for your insight. We're going to shift over to Corey a little bit. Corey, the video game community is one of the larger communities on Champlain campus. Speaking from your experiences as a game programming major, what are some ways you've been able to connect with fellow gamers on campus, or maybe even people that don't play video games often, if at all?
Yeah. So a good way to at least interact with students who are into games. We actually have a lot of extracurricular game activities. Like, for example, I'm a member of a club that plays Pokemon competitively online. In addition to that, there are tournaments for Smash Brothers. There's like occasionally there will be like tournaments for other types of games. There's like a video game club that meets every week. So there's always a bunch of different opportunities to meet with students in game. And in addition to this, Champlain also has a lot of opportunities for students to meet with students who are outside of their major. For example, they'll host like a night where you can go and like go get waffles for free in Fireside, and then there'll just be a lot of people who you can socialize with, or they'll have like sometimes they'll have like a dance. Like they had the snowball I don't know if it was that last month, I can't remember, but they have like the snowball, which is kind of like a cool dance type thing. So there are also opportunities to interact with people who are outside of your major.
Awesome. And you had talked about this a little bit earlier, about how the process of working on games can be stressful at times. Has working on video games separated you from playing them in your free time?
Honestly, it has a little bit, but while it has separated me from it a bit, I do actually still have time to work to like play games, just because professors sometimes encourage us to play other games, especially if we're making games in the same genre. to kind of do research in a way to keep up with the times on those genres. But in addition to that, we just kind of it depends on really how you manage your time. Like there's always going to be the stress of being a game major, but I've found that this semester in specific, it's been a lot stressful for me because I've been managing my time well, and there's so there's a lot more things you can do to give yourself the time to do the things you want to do. It's just a matter of time management and keeping up with schedules.
And last question, you talked a little bit about this earlier about how you take naps in the ODI. What else have you done within the Office of Diversity and Inclusion to alleviate stress of your workload?
Yeah, I'd say the thing I do the most is just to come in and hang out with people. It always feels great after an awful day to just come and like see who's in the ODI and see my friends and then just hang out with them. Also, there will sometimes be professors who you can just kind of vent to, and like sometimes you'll feel like, hey, if I like talk to this person about something, maybe they'll relay the things to other professors and kind of make some changes in some places. But in addition to that, it's just really just like having a space to go and just relax. It's just always nice for something like that.
Thank you, Corey. And I've definitely taken a nap or two, maybe even 30 in the ODI, so I can definitely relate to that. Speaking of the ODI, we'll start with Steph as she's a former staff member. Steph, from your perspective, what are some common misconceptions about the Office of Diversity and Inclusion? Sorry, we're getting a little technical difficulties. Hannah, could ask you what are some common misconceptions about the ODI from your perspective?
Yeah, one of the main misconceptions people think is that ODI is significantly only or specifically for people of color. Like it's open for any student. It doesn't matter your ethnicity, it doesn't matter your religion. You can go there and hang out and get snacks and stuff. It's not like a closed space where you can't come in. Like we're not going to kick you out or turn you out the door. We're going to want you to come in and hang out with us. So don't feel like just because there's tons of people of color that you'd have to be obligated to leave, because it's open to everybody.
All right, Isaiah, what are some common misconceptions about the ODI from your perspective?
So I definitely say Hannah hit the big nail on the head with that one. But I guess just a couple more would be that it's not really a misconception, but people can find us intimidating just because we do get loud a bit, because we're having fun, we're with our friends, we're enjoying each other's company, we're enjoying ourselves, because we don't always get to have that sort of space on campus. So just understand that if you do want to come in, you're free to come in at any time. It's an open space. Just understand that it still is a safe space for many people on campus, and they may not necessarily introduce themselves to you right away just because they're already they're comfortable with where they are, and not everybody is the same in terms of making new friends or introducing themselves to people. People have different levels of openness, so just acknowledge that, and yeah, and you'll have a good time. Just feel free to come in.
All right, Corey, care to add anything?
Yeah, honestly, like Hannah and Isaiah kind of hit the strong points. Something I was thinking of though is just like sometimes people might think the ODI is not really is more of like a like professional office and less of like a like space to just like relax or hang out, which is while it does have its like professional side, like we do try to keep things clean and like there are actually people who work there. It is mostly a space for students to hang out. And so we kind of But at the same time, though, some people think it's like only a space to hang out, where sometimes students want to come and get work done. So we have areas for that as well. Like there's a nice office area that people like to just shut the door to work in the conference room. So it's good for both things, really.
Hey, and Chelsea, is there anything that you want to add to Corey, Isaiah, or Hannah's points?
Yeah, I was actually gonna say something similar to what Corey just said, but I think a lot of times the ODI is called kind of like the living room of the campus when it's like people treat it as like a space to just like sleep, which is not true. We do have a lot of programming at the ODI. We have the education empowerment program where basically a professor or faculty they come in for office hours. It's like an hour or two, and you can get help with anything really, organizing your schedule. Can you help with an essay or anything like that? So it's not just a place for you to just like come and lay down and just like joke around. So we do get serious work done. So yeah.
Hey, and lastly, Steph, is there anything that you want to add from a staff perspective about any misconceptions about the ODI?
Yeah, I think the final thing that I'd like to add is that just because you don't identify with a minoritized group, so you may not necessarily always identify as a student of color, or if you don't identify as a first gen college student, but your friends do, or you don't identify as LGBTQ, doesn't mean that you're not welcome, and it doesn't mean that our resources are not open to you, right? You don't have to have a specific identity to want to explore what your identity means. And you don't have to have a specific identity to have things that are happening in the world and in our communities affect you. So I want to say that our doors are always open, and that regardless of how you identify, or if you don't know how you identify, that our doors and our resources are open to help support you.
Hey, thank you all for your insights on any misconceptions about the ODI. Steph, I'm actually going to ask you a few more questions if you don't mind. Can you talk a little bit about your own personal experiences in the ODI and how you help prepare the new Associate Director, Ashley Michelle Fowler, for her position?
Yeah. So like Hannah, when I started at Champlain, my first job was working at the ODI, doing some office work. So as an administrative assistant. So I did a lot of event planning, and I did a lot of work with some of the groups that we run, and our programs that we do. So that was a really exciting time. And then after I graduated, we were having some transition, and they asked me to come back to be our student support coordinator. So doing a lot of work with case management and program coordinating. I was meeting students all the time. And if I wasn't meeting with students, then I was planning on having programs with students. So very student focused work that we do in the office. And what was really awesome about me coming back, especially for the office, is not only did I have knowledge about our office and how we have functioned in the past, because we've had different staff members who've worked there and different programs we've run, but I also had a lot of institutional knowledge. And I've been a student for 4 years, and with that, as along with a lot of leadership roles that I had, I was an RA and I was a student ambassador, and I was very involved. So that came with a lot of connections to folks on campus. And so when Ashley Michelle, our new associate director, started just a month ago, we were ready. We were ready to share the knowledge that we had about the office and about the campus, and share what our goals were. And so a lot of times, like, she still has questions about things that are happening. And so to have a staff like me and Andy Jem, who is our student success and program coordinator for the Office of Diversity and Inclusion, and Bree Hornig, our graduate assistant for student success, all of us kind of rallied around her and said, we know that you're learning, and we're here to help you do that. And so she's been fantastic in her role, and we're glad to have her. And I know that she's been really happy to be able to work with us as well.
Hey, thank you. And one more question, if you don't mind. What does it feel to have graduated from Champlain as a first generation student?
It feels really good. Like there's no other way to describe it. It's a lot of work, and as I mentioned before, being a first gen college student is really hard. And the fact that, you know, a lot of my friends had parents who went to college. And so if they had a question about who they could turn to or who they talk to if they're having a problem, especially if they're living away from home, like they knew they could ask their parents and their parents would have an idea of which direction. Whereas, you know, I filled out all of my college applications. I filled out all my FAFSA forms by myself, and my parents didn't know how to answer any questions for me. If I had any questions, I had to figure out who would be the most, the most appropriate person to ask, and that meant doing a lot of research on my own and failing a lot. Which, you know, as weird as it sounds, I'm very proud of my failures because no matter how many of those I had, it still ended me graduating with a degree and a minor, and then finding work after I graduate, right? Like that's kind of what we're hoping at the end of all of this, all of the papers and the long nights and the hard work, is that you end up getting to do something that you're passionate about. And so being a first gen student and not really having all of the things that a lot of my friends who are not first gen students had, was really exciting. And then to be able to help other folks do that as well, is even more exciting because it just feels like I get to pay it forward.
Thank you, Steph. I fibbed a little bit. I do have one more question for you, but I'm actually going to open this up to Chelsea as well. Speaking myself as a first generation student to first generation students, what should first generation students coming to Champlain know? What might they need to hear to be sure that they have the resources to succeed here at Champlain? Steph, we'll start with you.
Yeah, so something I kind of alluded to it in the last question that I find that you should know is that it's okay to fail and it's okay to take risks, right? Like this is a learning process for all of us. And I can't tell you how many times I like did something and I was like, I probably should have done it another way. But the learning process is one that's really rocky, but it's also very rewarding once you get past it. And fun fact, I was also a senior intern last year for our Office of Admissions, and I wrote a whole blog on it. So if anyone really likes me, Legally Blonde, you should check out the admissions blog and find it, because I think something that, and that was also part of that blog writing process, is that I don't really do writing. So make sure that like you do your research and you fail a little bit, because honestly, that's kind of the best and most fun way to learn.
Chelsea, can you talk a little bit about what advice that you would give to first generation students?
Yeah, I would definitely say ask a lot of questions. I think coming into college, I didn't really had this mindset that I didn't want to bother anybody. So I kind of tried to like do everything by myself. I was like, I got this. Like, I didn't really know how to fill out FAFSA, so I just like did everything by myself. And like during some points in my journey, I kind of messed up a little bit, and I figured out that this would not be a problem if I just asked questions. So I definitely think being comfortable with asking questions and clarifying anything that you want to know is definitely number one. So put yourself out there. Don't be afraid to ask for help. So, yeah.
I think from my perspective as a first generation student, definitely, kind of piggybacking off what Steph and Chelsea have added, it's okay to seek help. It's okay to make mistakes. Making mistakes along the way, whether it be as a first generation student or as a Champlain student in general, or just a college student, it's okay to make mistakes, because all of those mistakes are building blocks towards learning experiences. So that way, you know what to do later, in the event that the situation comes up again, or that you can give advice to the next generation of students that'll be looking to you as, a form of counsel and a form of leadership. So, definitely with being a first generation student, it can be intimidating, but I promise it gets easier. Use all the resources that you have at your disposal disposal, sorry. Ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions either. Just reach out to whoever, and trust me, it gets easier. So yeah, that's all I have to add. One more thing that I should also say right now, first and foremost, thank you all so much for being part of this live stream. Panelists, viewers, thank you. You all had some very insightful things to say. Yeah, just thank you from the bottom of my heart for giving your insight to admitted students to Champlain. And the stream is available not only live, but also archived. So, that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Anthony. Thank you, panelists, and thank you everyone who was viewing. Next week's live stream is going to be airing on Tuesday, March 5th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it's called An Inside Look at Champlain Student Life. This is a great opportunity to hear about all the clubs that Champlain offers and a variety of ways to continue your current interests and discover some new ones as well. Our admitted student days are coming up. The first one is March 23rd, and the second one is April 13th. But if you want to get in on the conversation a little bit sooner and meet some of your future classmates, I highly encourage you to join the Champlain Class of 2023 Facebook group. Once again, thank you everyone, and I hope you have a wonderful evening.